And having actually played Lost Ark, I know a lot of people have been waiting for this game for a long time. So then the question regarding Lost Ark is going to be this. This game came out in like 2018, and it was like 2019, 2020, 2021. The Lost Ark fan base has been, very supportive of this game, but is it too late for a game like this? Are they going to be able to compete and find an audience in the West years later, or is it just going to be something that kind of comes and goes? Because like Johnny says here, Amazon Studios has a long established history of pulling the plug on projects, even though they're the publisher. If they don't see a return on the investment, they will pull funding. I think any company would pull funding off of anything that's just draining money at some point. There's a hard cutoff, but what do you guys think?
I think this is a topic that actually me and my friend were discussing earlier today, in fact, in regards to Lost Ark. Is it too late for them to release it, considering this came out in 2018 in Korea?
Yeah, in Korea.
And it's old. And that doesn't generally translate very well. And there are other precedents like Blade and Soul, which, prove that it's really difficult for a game that's been out for so long, that has all the documentation, all the videos. It's nothing new. And sure, you're going to get that fresh feel when you jump in for the first time. Mm-hmm. But like yourself, you've been playing it. So even if you jump into this now, sure, you'll actually finally understand what's going on. But, it's not new. You've seen it so much, and you've seen it on Twitch, because I've watched this a few times on Twitch and stuff. And I've seen like YouTube videos when I was really following it a year or so ago. And it's not new. And I think that could potentially hurt some of it. Also, there's that whole stigma of it being free to play, which will also cause a problem. Because for me personally, I generally stay away from free to play games, mainly because support generally isn't there. Right. It's not at the level of, say, like Final Fantasy XIV, which is a subscription-based model. If you're paying for a subscription, you expect a certain level of support. And you expect to see that content coming every 3 months. With a free-to-play game.
Wow, Shadowlands would be a real stark contrast to that viewpoint right now.
Yeah, well, that's why 14 is the number one game right now.
Numero uno. Good.
But that's what you kind of expect from a subscription-based model, because that's what you're paying for. You're paying for that continued content. A number of games, like Secret World Legends, for example, really good game. If any of you haven't checked it out, it's free to play. I think it's buy to play, or it could be free to play now. The world is really interesting, totally interesting, and it's a really cool game. But because it's free to play, there's like almost no support for it at all. And that's a real shame, because that's an IP that's actually really cool, but Funcom have just completely dropped it because it's free to play and it's not making enough money as Conan. So they're like, okay, goodbye. But if it was actually making the money, if it had a valid monthly subscription, you could see that game living on for quite a while longer. And I'm just worried that free-to-play games, especially ones like this, may fall into that same trope. It all depends on support and content updates, and if they don't deliver that, it will die.
So are you about to say something?
Yeah, MMO Ronin just kind of took the words out of what I was going to say. Where Chaos, you were talking about, it's an old game, we don't know how it's going to do re-releasing over here. That's exactly what PSO did. Or PSO2 did. It was an 8-year-old game that then finally released over here, and it got blown up. Like, people loved it. I mean, yeah, it was buggy at first on the global release, but after a month or two, it calmed down and everything runs smooth.
You think so? Because every one of my friends, obviously, I'm not saying I have a billion friends, but we were all looking forward to it, and we jumped in for a little bit. And ultimately, the game aged so badly that we just couldn't enjoy it. So our group of 7 or 8 players, we just ended up going elsewhere. What's the numbers for PSO2 in the Western market?
I'd have to try to pull it up somewhere.
I'll find it.
Okay.
Because I'd be interested to see that.
Like, yeah, I'm not talking New Genesis right now. I'm just talking.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, graphics wise, sure. Gameplay wise, I mean, it's pretty much the same as it was. Or New Genesis is pretty much the same gameplay style as what base is. But I think it came over and released globally, and I think it was handled as well as it could have been. With such want and need for the game globally.
Right.
You can only go so far with something on release. You release something and yeah, you're going to have problems. I don't know anybody that has not had problems. But they're making changes, they're making adjustments. They just updated the graphics engine for the base game even. And I did switch back and forth between the two since release of New Genesis, and they both look great. The updated graphics engine for base looks amazing, but I'm also a little biased because PSO is something or Phantasy Star is just something that I've loved for years.
Yeah, I have an absolute nostalgia for the series. I actually released my first impressions of it today and started off with a story about my experience growing up and how like Phantasy Star 4 was like a real like key moment in my adolescence. I was like, I distinctly remember that day. And right now, Phantasy Star 2 listed at 16 is some of the most active MMOs, with Final Fantasy 14 being number 1 in that regards. I think we've kind of covered our thoughts on Lost Ark when it comes to that. I want it to be successful, but like I've also seen like servers and population dip down in Korea, and it kind of Korean games kind of have that kind of cycle. They come out in Korea, they make their money there, then they come out in the West and they make their money there, and then they shut down. But we'll ultimately see, because if people are actively playing it and the game's making money, then I think that's where people are going to want more content. You want more content? You want more of this game? We'll ultimately have to wait and see. But thank you so much for checking out this highlight from Epic Loot Radio. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe button, and more. And check out our other channels, Ginger Gaming Radio, Ginger Prime, and Work to Game for more content. Thanks for being here, and you're awesome.